The tiniest, smallest moments of frustration shape your day, and you don't want to give up your day because it's correlating with your time, the limited time that you have on this plane you have to take control of. Okay. And we only have a certain amount of it. So when you allow yourself to be frustrated, and this pertains to when you're trying to accomplish something, everybody, if you're a sane human being, you have something that you're aspiring to. If not, you need to look in the mirror and ask yourself what's going on. This is very important. When we're in the pursuit of our goals, don't try to demonize goals, but when we allow ourselves to be frustrated by anything that happens, anything that comes up, disturbances, roadblocks, interruptions. I mean, we live on a planet, plane it, with millions of other human beings that all have their own problems, their own desires, their own shortcomings. It's best to not look at it like they're just a bunch of flawed human beings on the plane it. And excuse me, on the let me just I'm kind of in a weird mood and I'm just trying to work out my thoughts here. But what I'm trying to say is this. Our time is limited. And if we allow minor frustrations to take control of the rest of our day, because this is what it does, and I want to explain something. When we allow these tiny frustrations, right, it may seem insignificant to where, we may be in traffic, we might just, curse somebody out real quick and then just keep it pushing. Or we may, have an annoyance of anything. I mean, there's just multiple examples you can think of in your own life. But when you allow it to go on for too long, it takes control of your time in your day. And then you're left with this low level anxiety or animosity, if you will, which then controls the decisions in the rest of your day. It actually dampens your energy as a human being. The energy that you're going to need in order to accomplish the desires and goals that you have. And we all have them. And this is the important part. The reason why small frustrations dictate where your life ends up is because they become addictive. It's almost like you're programming your mental hard drive to react in a certain way because it's like a release valve for you. When you get frustrated and you maybe curse somebody out or, say some slick shit out the side of your mouth, there's a number of ways people will try to release the frustration. If it's not managed properly, this frustration ends up being more of a hindrance because you're programming yourself to need to release in that way. Instead of releasing the frustration in a productive way, we're training our brains and our minds to release it in this unproductive, silly way, if you really think about it. Talking slick to people to try to put them down is something that a lot of us do because we've learned it in school or through battle rap, or it could be a number of different ways. Maybe your parents have talked like this, and these little things get programmed into your mind as a young kid, but also as an adult as well, because we pretty much reflect our surroundings. And when you allow that to happen for too long, the chains of habit become too weak to be felt until they're too strong to be broken. And then it's harder and harder to break out of it. So this is why when we allow frustrations to dictate our actions, we're basically solidifying those poor decisions every freaking day. And really the way to get out of it is to take control. Hold on a second. Let me ask you this. What if the reason that you keep feeling stuck is not lack of talent, but instead it's lack of emotional control. The reason why John D. Rockefeller was so successful in what he was doing, and we're not going to get into the ethics of it all, but the man was really successful because he always kept a level head, no matter what was going on. And you can imagine for somebody that's running a conglomerate that size, you're going to have all kinds of things thrown at you. People are going to be gunning for your neck. You're going to have a target on you. There's going to be a lot of competition, let's just say. I believe the reason why he was able to take it to the level that he took it to, one of the main reasons was because he was able to keep a cool head no matter what. So there's been parts in the book that I was reading where it said that he was under so much stress, where he was telling his wife how stressed out he was, but nobody ever could tell the guy was stressed. You know what I'm saying? It was something that he only revealed to his closest associates or partners. Even a lot of his business partners were like amazed at how unmovable he was emotionally. The guy was, robotic in a way. And, it's not to say that human beings need to be these mechanical robots, but it gives you a perspective on what it takes to get to a certain level. If you're aspiring to something, that certain thing that you really want to do, excuse me, you got to have that mental stability. The mental stability's got to be there. And in fact, if you go in the total opposite direction to where people are just too emotional, a lot of them end up dead or in jail because they're reacting on emotion for everything. So you got to have sort of a balance, but with maturity, you understand that you get to a level where you have to kind of be a little robotic and think logical in life if you really want to get what you want. Excuse me, the particulate is getting into my lungs. Anyway, it's crazy when you go to try to record a video and take it serious. All of a sudden you start coughing out of nowhere. But this is an example of, keeping it cool. So, I could say, man, you know what? Forget this. Shut the camera. I'm doomed. There's a couple of things that happened today or even last night that I was frustrated with that I kind of got to take care of. But I already decided this morning when I woke up that I was going to record a video and nothing's going to stop me from doing it. Excuse me. So here we are. Yeah, so moving on, we're going to continue to, and I just want to say this one thing. Like, it feels awkward standing here in a quiet room, talking to a camera. I could do it when I'm out walking or driving. It's much easier. But when you're just staring at an empty lens, a soulless lens, there's nobody behind the lens. And you're looking at this lens and you're talking to it as if it's another human being behind that lens. It feels kind of weird. But that's the reason why I do it. That's one of the reasons why I do it, okay? Because I made a commitment yesterday. I have to make a video. You know what's funny? I was making videos consistently every week on YouTube. And a couple of months ago, I said, I'm tired of this. Didn't want to do it no more. So I stopped making videos like this, like kind of long form videos. And now that I'm doing it again, like this is for the first time, I just turned on the camera and I'm trying to record another video. I'm like, dude, it feels as awkward as it did when I first tried to record a video in a quiet room alone. It's an awkward thing if you're like, shout out to the people who do this because it is not a natural thing to do. So just wanted to mention that. But I plan to make more videos and I plan to make travel videos as well. So now you got to ask yourself, what makes a person fold under pressure and another person thrive within uncertainty, chaos, disruption, etc., etc.? And it's an interesting thing because I was also remembering how when I was in sales, some of the smartest, well put together, charismatic, confident looking, sounding people, if they didn't have the drive and the work ethic to succeed, would actually not last because their emotional control. You see, I'm talking about a position where you go out knocking on doors in all types of areas. So you encounter so many different people. And I've knocked more than 10,000 doors in my solar career. And you see a lot of different things, okay? I've had guns pulled out on me. I've had people threaten me, chase me down the street and everything, okay? It got pretty crazy. But, if I didn't have the desire to succeed, I would have called it quits right there. Okay, this isn't for me. I was willing to risk certain safety measures, shall we say, so that I could make a certain amount of money that I was gunning for. And one of the ways that I did that was to tap into the love of the game, because it can't be just about the money. It has to be about the love of the game. And this makes me think back to the first sales position that I had in a cold calling company in Southern California. When I lived there, we were in orientation training, and the head sales manager, took us in the office before we went out onto the floor. He kind of gave us like a 10-minute pep talk. And he explained how, like, when he first started, he sucked. He was like the worst one out of his orientation group. Fumbled all the time, was nervous, but he had such a desire to win. When he went home, what he did was he read the script hundreds of times for hours every single night when he got home from work. And he got better, but because he was so inspired and motivated by the people that were driving the nice cars and stuff, and he wanted that. But when he started doing better, he got to the point where he realized that more than the money, what he really liked was the love of the game. And he said, I was hooked on the chase. And you could see his eyes light up when he said that. He said, for me, it was the chase, the game. It was exhilarating. I became addicted to it. And that's how I got to this level where I'm at now. And so when he was just this young 20-year-old kid and he was having trouble, his desire to win became the most important thing. And there he was, the head sales trainer in the company, and he was driving the nice car. So the story stuck with me because it made me think, that kind of philosophy, when you bring it into whatever it is that you're trying to do in life, it is a valuable thing. And you can say what you want about salespeople, but sales is a self-development practice. And in fact, if you get into a sales company and they don't have any form of self-development within the training, get out of that company. The company's trash. They're just going to churn and burn a bunch of people looking for like somebody who already knows what they're doing, and it's not a good thing. You want good training. So I really tell you this because this kind of philosophy and this approach teaches you emotional control. And the best ones, you can get screamed on by a prospect. You can get threatened by a prospect. If you react to it, you're done. Now your day is ruined. There's no way you're going to get on the next call or knock on the next door and not show signs of being flustered and uneasy and unraveled. You're not going to make it. It's the next prospect is going to, shove you off. You don't look like a professional. You don't act like a professional. Therefore, you're not going to succeed in that position. And the ones that did succeed in when I trained multiple people, what I found the number one trait of the people that did succeed wasn't their natural charisma or their personality, or, because there was a lot of awkward people that were fumbling their words, talking really slowly. That none of that really mattered. What mattered was their ability to take rejection and regulate their emotional control, as if, they would take a hard rejection and it wouldn't affect them. That's how you knew that person was going to make it. And at first, when I was starting to train people, I was like, oh, this person is charismatic. They're going to smash it out of the park. I'm going to train them up. They're going to be the best person in the company. Not necessarily the case. I can tell you countless people who were like that ended up quitting or getting fired because I couldn't handle the emotions that came along with it. They couldn't handle the getting hit. They'd sit in the car and they would mentally check out. Once a person mentally checks out, it's kind of tough to bring them back in. They have to be in it. They can't be having one foot in, one foot out. So that whole lesson pertains to life. It really does. Another thing that I think a person's success hinges upon throughout my array of failures and successes throughout my life is the small actions that they take during the day. If you are treating yourself right and you're eating right and you're exercising, that's going to translate into a whole bunch of other avenues in life, a whole bunch of other opportunities down the road that you don't really necessarily see now. So if you treat your mind right and you're reading material and you're improving your mind and you're learning things, that's a form of self-love that translates into other things, wherever you want to take it, really. But if you're consuming a bunch of fear-mongering nonsense every day, a bunch of negativity, a bunch of gossip that's doing nothing but wasting time, you're going to reap the results of those actions. The smallest actions really bring things to fruition in your life. Okay, and I'm talking a little bit lower now because my my voice is going out for some reason. So I find that this is a better volume to go with. But be conscious of the small things during the day that add up. Kind of be regimented as much as possible about these things. Stay the course and always get to the next level. And I hope that helps.